Hi, I'm Matt. Um, After speaking to a lot of people about this channel, the overwhelming advice was I needed to get in front of the camera. That's really not something I wanted to do, but here I am. And I thought I'd start by simply explaining why I started Truth Matters UK and what I'm hoping to achieve, or what I'm hoping we can achieve uh, together, I guess, on this movement campaign, whatever it's going to turn out to be. Um, I'm really worried about what's happening to our country, and even more about the future that we're leaving for our children. So over my lifetime, I've watched the slow decline of, Britain, the UK. We've got more children living in poverty. We've got people working full time and having to use food banks. The NHS is collapsing. Homelessness is rising. Public transport is breaking down. Our rivers and seas are polluted beyond belief. Pretty much everywhere you look, it's a disaster. Uh, and I think most people agree now Britain is broken. But I don't think many of us realise how serious this is, or where this could and can and maybe will lead. And there's a term for this, and that's something called normality bias. Uh, Normality bias is when we deny that there's major change happening because it feels too far from what we're used to. So I suspect the Romans didn't see the fall of their empire coming either, just like the people living through the world wars didn't, they never believed that their lives were going to be changed in, the most horrendous way. But denial isn't going to stop this happening. We're all living through the slow decline or the slow collapse of Britain. And if we don't face it, it's only going to get worse. I've debated with friends and family endlessly about which political party could fix this, who's to blame, is anybody to blame, um, why they're to blame. And really, what stood out was it wasn't just, who we blamed, it was we couldn't even agree on what the actual facts were. We both thought that the other person, well, we both thought we were right, and we thought the other person was wrong, and we thought that the other person was, the victim of fake news, or their own personal bias, and it made me question myself. So how do I know that my reality hasn't been poisoned by lies, and that the lens that I see the world through isn't distorted? And that's kind of really when it hit me that unless we agree what's true, how can you fix anything? You know, unless you know what the root cause of a problem is, you're not going to be able to fix it. And it doesn't matter if you're left, right, or centre. This thing transcends politics. Um, Without a shared truth, we're going to stay divided. We're going to be distracted from what the actual issues really are, and Britain is going to continue to decline. Now, I know some of you are skeptical that this will work, skeptical about who would police the truth and whether they can be trusted. And and you're right to be skeptical. Being skeptical is good. Um, it's an incredible important question, and it's a real challenge. And I'm not pretending to have the answers. I do have some thoughts and some suggestions. So for those who like the detail, they are on my website, so you can go and check that out. Um, what I do know is we have to try. I'm absolutely convinced we can build a better path to a better place than where we're currently heading. Absolutely convinced, because where we are at the minute is a disaster. But this is only going to happen if we work together and, we're going to need to work with people that we don't agree with. So both the left and the right and the centre, you know, you can forget about your political agendas. This is the first step of this is let's figure out what the truth is. So we're going to have to work together, you know, with people that we don't necessarily agree with, and that's fine. So what am I asking you to do? How are we going to do this? Um, the first step is simple. The first step is we've got to build, and I've got to build this channel. I've got to build a following. We've got to build momentum. So you've got to do all that YouTube stuff of subscribing and clicking like and commenting and all that stuff on the channel. You also need to be speaking to, you know, your friends and your family about this to spread it that way. You know, I also need you to be patient as well, because this is going to take a very long time. It's something I've had to, you know, accept when I've started doing this channel. That this could be a few years type thing going on. So yeah, they're the things that we need to do. Look, I didn't start Trust Matters UK for money. You know, I've got no idea how the YouTube thing works with money. I haven't looked into it. I'm not interested in that whatsoever. I certainly didn't start Trust Matters UK for fame. The last place I want to be is in front of this camera. I started out of desperation. I started out because I'm genuinely concerned the UK is going to fail badly, and my kids and all of our kids are going to end up in, you know, very difficult situations. So yeah, so I felt that I had to do something, and this is where I ended up. And I do believe that we can come together, and you know, we can fight this. I still, there is power with people. You just got to make the people believe and join together for a common cause. It can be done. The question is, though, what are you going to do? Are you going to, you know, are you going to do those little things? Are you going to like, subscribe, share the channel? They're only little steps, but this is the first. This is the first start. We'll build, and then once we get the momentum, then we start acting. Thank you.